Hi friends, let's take a look at Tezos together. Thank you so much for tuning in, really do appreciate it. There's a couple of things which I left on the chart last week that I actually meant to sort of delete when I was doing it, but this funny looking face here, I've decided to keep on here actually ultimately anyway. You can see that we've come up to this orange line. Let me just zoom on in a bit more. What was that? Let me just zoom in a bit more here. Yeah, there we go. And say, look, we've come in here and we haven't actually managed to close out a body higher than this previous high over here. So while this looks like it could potentially be, well, not on the RSI actually, but on the Stochastics, it looks like it could be bearishly divergent. It isn't actually currently bearishly divergent quite yet, although you can see that this high, and then the next high, should we just use sort of wicks to form this thing, and then this low, this next higher low, and this next higher low are all forming what could potentially be a wedge. I would expect to see a little bit of divergence on the MACD, but we don't really need that. I've taken off the trading wheels. The trading with a D, training with an N, wheels. For this just for now, and I've got the VPPR on the charts instead. You can see that this whole chunk where we've got this big face here is obviously a whirlwind of a lack of price action, really, or a lack of liquidity, all the rest of it. The next sort of liquidity area, if you like, or the next sort of area where you've got where things kick back in again, of course, is up there at the 24,000 area. At 21,000 at the minute, things are looking fairly rosy. We could be on the way towards getting in these higher highs and continuing that trend up the way. Now, of course, if we see a pullback from that, then this makes it look more like a wedge. If we see pushing on past, then that looks good. We are past the orange line though, so if we do see a pullback, I want to see support in here, or at least a retaking of this line should we drop down to the mid-20s thousands, back up again to the sort of 20,760 area, so that we can really say that we've gone past this. Now, we managed to really successfully hold this red line here, which is drew in back over there on that day and said, this is where we need to see it hold, and it did. We came up and we challenged this, and we challenged it a few times, consolidating around that area. If I go down to a small time frame, you'll probably see some other sort of pattern. At the orange one's disappeared. So there was like another wedge type thing there. Come up here with a doubly top thing at the minute. Has this been a sort of cup with handle at this area, You can always draw them in at various different times. If we get another one here move down the way, then that would be yet another one of those. Looking at the whatever. It doesn't matter. We've come up here and we're above the orange line. Great, good. We could move up towards the next orange line. Great, good. 24K, that'd be nice. If not, looking for support at 20,760 or a retaking of that area. Movements down below this. Then I'll just borrow this measuring stick for this chat here. Could see us come back down and retest and perhaps even break this and put in lower lows, or indeed we get 60% movement off of it, and ultimately what this works out to be is, in terms of the higher term time frames, simply put a higher low with a low here, a high here, and a low here. So there's various different ways of looking at that. That's pretty much all of them, and that's how I'd be looking at it. We've come past this point here so far in terms of RSI. No, we've not quite yet, but here, this sort of swing failure zone that we spoke about in the past, this is what we're looking for. It's maybe a bit high, that's where it should be, just there. So that's what we're looking to see if we get above. The DMI is of course situated with a negative trend, but we've gone up above 40. Always a warning sign for people when you do that. Looking back in the past, you can see that things kind of, well, maybe this isn't the best example of it, but if we see a turnaround from this point here, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise. That could be the trend kind of fading off a wee bit in terms of the downward movement, leaving us with enough gusto in terms of the ADX to be able to pick up and initiate an upward trend with the sort of maintaining that inertia, that momentum that's there, without having to sort of really sort of consolidate and go sideways for months, which is why we can see here that we've always had these ups and downs, without a great deal of, sideways consolidation. Although you could consider this whole rectangle at the top to be sideways consolidation, it was actually, that's a little bit unfair when you're looking at things like a percentage drop off here of 40% with an increase in percentage afterwards of 60%. This is definitely, just sections of trend and price action within it, giving you this easy to trade areas, and that's why we're looking at that. That's why it's so key, and that's the Bitcoin pair. In terms of look at how good this was, by the way. Look at how good this was. I mean, this is what you do to trade. This is why we talk about this being the best technical analysis on the internet, and why I'm dedicating my skills here and knowledge towards Tezos to hopefully bring it up a level and make it a properly good coin. I'm trying to be the change you see in the world. You can also do that by hitting that subscribe button, be the change you want to see in the world. Look how good this was here, coming down, finding support again twice, putting that lows there. Of course, we said, like when I was talking to Amit about things, that overall, you don't see divergence, even including here on the DMI. If I could bring this up full screen, I would show you as this went higher than the previous one during this downward trend. You didn't see it, but we've actually had it. I said my opinion is it's kind of towards the top side. The most bullish thing was that we had this falling wedge on the go. We haven't had the play out from it. If we could do that, then we could be looking up towards this median line or even beyond, taking it to 236 over here with 3 targets thereafter being $2.90, $3.20 and $3.50. If we do all of that, let's be a little bit more sort of strict on things and say instead that the targets really ought to be at the minute 250. 280 and 320 really in terms of this pitchfork. And looking at this here, we could say that there'll definitely be anticipate some profit taken to be happening in at that 250 area where we have a 618 golden pocket and of course the 236 over there. But we have done things pretty well so far. This here is the measured move in terms of 60%. If we were to go for the full thing, then it'd be taking you all the way up towards that upper line here. Of course, moving this over a bit, taking you up towards this upper line here, whatever this sort of area, in at that $3 zone. So that'd be pretty tasty. Looking at this, we charted this out really, really, really well. So in terms of making profits off of this, we're already up 20%. Lovely, jubbly, that's fantastic. So let's continue on anyway. We've kind of covered everything we needed to cover, but there is one last consideration to make, and that is that if we do move down the way and we don't take out this sort of $2.70, $2.80 and all that sort of stuff targets, and we then ultimately fade back down the way and drop down below $2 again, we could be looking at that some sort of quasi-modal head and shoulders there, but we don't need to really do too focused on any of that just now until such times as that happens. Looking at this thing, by the way, see this clear way that we've come outside of this parallel channel on the Tezos, the hit BTC, make it easy to trade, easy as F to trade, land, here we have it, and we moved up above it, came back, retested it, found support. We've got this horizontal support now in here. As well in that area just there, and can we then maintain the 216 area, move towards the top side, get the 250, get that golden pocket and get that 236 underway and move up and look towards our next golden pocket on this one. At the same respect, by the way, if we do come up towards this golden pocket area here, just want to point out the lack of action on the VPVR over there on the right, so be aware that this could be somewhere where you come along, get a little bit of the lack of action here perhaps, or else just fly on through it. But look at this in two ways. There's always two ways of looking at it. One of them is that we just come up, get there, fly on through it. The other one is that we come up here, and then the same reasons why there is less trading here is also the same reasons why there's a lack of impetus to then move on beyond that zone if that's what needs to happen at that particular time. So let's look at the Ethereum pairing on this one. I'm going to tune out in just a second, by the way. We've got this wedge on the go, which we had down the bottom when we saw the MACD divergence and whatnot, and we had it, and it's now gone past that point. We're asking the next stage of these evolution of these things, and is it just going to turn into a parallel channel, or is it going to go towards the top side? The clear areas for us then in terms of resistance, of course, above us are the 65 area, the 0.0065 area. Thereafter, you're looking at 70 and 75, all of those giving you good profit taking targets. If we want to see support coming in here, want to see it at 59 or 60, let's call it, certainly not any lower than 57 or 58 where we had our previous lows, just to not continue that downward trend. But if we did do that and we needed to sort of remain sort of with the potential for saying that we've got some sort of bullish action on the go, then I suppose if we were just to kind of ask, is this going to stay as a wedge, I'd look to get to see this to be rejected fairly soon from it and drop back down again, and then perhaps come towards the top side, giving us a little bit extra sort of motivation to really break past areas on the way up, should that necessarily be necessary. Now, looking at this thing, we've got a clear sort of swing failure area just in here where I want to go to draw a little box. In fact, I'm pretty sure I had a little box on one of the charts as well that I was going to point out in one of the videos today, but I forgot to do so. Anyway, this zone here is critical for us. The DMI down below, you can see, is very, very negative, but what we do have is a sort of rejection from the 40 area of the negative and curling round of the ADX. Will this kind of go down the way? It gives us enough room to breathe should we get across and we want to maintain this upward momentum, just in the same way as whenever this crossed back here on the 9th of July, looking at the price action over here on the 9th of July, we got this nice rise up there, and that was as a result of the ADX still being high. Let's see if we can get some of that on the go with just that price action there now. First target to look to 65, next target to look to 70, next target to look to 77. Let's see if we get these 10% moves. That would be nice. Once we take out the 236, we could even be looking as high as 109. Of course, that is a huge rally for the price action, and you would expect to see some profit taking happen in there, given that's a 71% rise towards the top side. But as well, the VPVR kicks back in there. There's various other reasons, and that's a bit outside of the scope of what we need to talk about today. So let's just leave that until we come back next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. There's a few things I'm going to say before I go away. One of them is that you can join a live chat every Monday where you get to talk about your trading. Sets you up really good for the week. It's a nice thing to do. And if you join the Discord. Another thing is that I've updated the code on this indicator, which you can get access to in the Discord as well. As you can see, there's now another color on the ADX line, giving you a really good way of using this thing. Great tool. Another thing is leave a comment saying Rocky you rock in this video or any of the other ones in fact today, and for the month of September, and you'll be entered into a Bitcoin giveaway where I'm giving away 10 Satoshis for every view the channel gets in the month. So that's going to be a lot of Satoshis. And what else is there? Well, I don't know. I don't really know. Just want to say that I appreciate your time that you spent with me today. Really do. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again next time. Thanks so much for joining me here. It's great to have you as friends out there in the world. Really do appreciate you. I know that every single individual who watches these videos is a wonderful and talented person. I have to say, I really do believe in your ability to become a fantastic trader. I sincerely do. Let's do it together. Join this channel, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be generous, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that join button as well. That's all good. You don't have to. At the very least, if you hit subscribe, that would be amazing. I'll see you next time. youtube.com/Rocky Outcrop if you want to share it with your friends. A friend of yours is a friend of mine. See you again.